You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God!
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Hit the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is Resilience in the Face of Chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Love you. Love you.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In the news, Democratic Rep. McIver was charged with assault after the skirmish at the ICE Center in Newark, New Jersey. She's a member of Congress, had every right to be at the ICE facility with Mayor Ras Baraka. Mayor Ras Baraka, the charges have been dropped, as I understand it, against the mayor, but the Democratic representative in Congress, an African-American woman who represents Newark, New Jersey, has been charged with assaulting ICE officers. Those are felonies. Why the mayor's charges were dropped? The target of the initial confrontation, and why he, the Trump administration, President Trump, Pam Bondi, have decided to charge the Democratic representative simply suggest, at least in my mind, that they want to scare 60 African Americans in Congress who might be leading protests in their local districts. The immigration policies of this administration, a simple message: we will lock you up. We will charge you with a felony. We will felonize you. We'll save that for another day. But Representative McIver has been charged with 2 felonies for assaulting ICE officers. The consequences of that, the chilling effect of that, are extraordinary for national political leadership, particularly Black leadership. Also in the news, Reverend Al Sharpton this week delivered an amazing address called Selective Amnesia. He preached from Exodus. He talked about Negro leadership not remembering how we got the right to vote, not remembering the road that we have traveled as a people. But today, I am particularly honored that we added to our program 2 outstanding scholars, one of whom is Dr. Leslie Holmes, who is going to discuss along with us prostate cancer, along with Kevin Armott, a researcher. We're going to use this opportunity, the opportunity that the President of the United States, the former president, has provided us, given his recent prostate cancer diagnosis, to talk about prostate cancer screening for Black men. It is a leading cause of the mortality of Black men, and this political revelation, the revelation that President Joe Biden has a Gleason score of nearly 9, which means he's known that he's had prostate cancer for quite some time, even before he decided to seek a second term as President of the United States. It presents a learning and teaching opportunity and a warning to take better care of ourselves, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. The lesson: is it okay to share your health challenges and seek appropriate support, counseling, and advice to improve your longevity? Dr. Leslie Holmes is a radiation oncologist at SGMC Perelman Cancer Center in Valdosta, Georgia. She specializes in treating various cancers, including breast, lung, prostate, and rectal. She received her medical degree from Morehouse School of Medicine in Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Holmes's residency training includes internal medicine at Mount Sinai Medical Center and the radiation oncology at Emory University School of Medicine. She's board certified by the American Board of Radiology and the American Board of Radiology or Radiation Oncology. Kevin Mott is a researcher who's worked at both Cedars-Sinai and is currently at UNC Chapel Hill, where he investigates and oversees animal testing. His focus is comprehensive cancer and quest to find cures. Kevin studied chemical engineering at Purdue University, civil and environmental engineering at Loyola Marymount, and molecular biology at California State University. Dr. Holmes, welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate this opportunity.
Kevin Mott, welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much for letting me be here today.
I'm particularly grateful that both of you have taken time against the backdrop and the context of a national story. Of course, there is Black Men's Health Month. Of course, there is Women's Health Month. But when the nation's attention turns to the health of a former president, or it turns to the longevity or morbidity of a former president, obviously it provides us an opportunity to not only explore some of the things that we need to do in order to preserve our lives, but it also allows us to raise questions about how we handle family members, how we handle community, and how we address these profound issues. Not only do they have profound implications personally, in our political context, they obviously, when it comes to the President of the United States and his or her health, they have tremendous ramifications and implications for we the people, for the nation. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, Dr. Holmes and Kevin are going to share with us their thoughts on prostate cancer and the need to take better care of ourselves. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attention. If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance. And you better watch out, because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You really about to do it?
40 acres and a mule. This is bigger than the music.
You really about to do it?
Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Who among us doesn't like black music? But Kendrick is right. This moment is so much bigger than music. These are serious times. We've got serious problems, and we need serious people who understand that slogans are not solutions. When you want substantial and sober analysis about things that matter to you and the ones you love, this is where you turn. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. Holmes and Mr. Kevin Mott are my very special guests today. We're going to walk through the science of what we should know as a community as it relates to various forms of cancer, but more specifically prostate cancer, because it is in the news. Dr. Holmes, let me begin with you. Dr. Holmes, share with us what Black men should be doing and at what ages they should be doing, because prostate cancer is a leading cause of morbidity amongst African American men.
That is so very true, Mr. Jackson. We have screening tests that are available for various cancers. And I'll just run down the list briefly. We have mammograms for breast cancer. We have colonoscopies for colon cancer. We have low-dose CTs for lung cancer. And we have the PSA test, the prostate-specific antigen, which is a blood draw that you get, and that can tell about the value of the prostate cancer. A normal range without being diagnosed with prostate cancer is between 0 and 4. And so when it's over 4, that prompts one to get further evaluation with biopsies and ultrasounds and diagnostic studies. And that can help us diagnose one person. But what we have to be cognizant of in our community is that we have to take advantage of these tests. And we do know within our community, there are systemic factors that prohibit us from doing that. There's health disparities, there's socioeconomic barriers, there's access to care barriers. All of these things play a role in delayed diagnosis for a lot of African American men when it comes to their disease. So they're often diagnosed in later stages or they have more advanced disease. But our primary goal is to educate and to tell people, hey, you have to get the screening test. That's what they're there for. Usually you start at the age of 50. You can start lower than that at 45 if you're of African American descent. And you can even start at 40 if you have multiple members within your family that have had prostate cancer. One of the things within our community is that we don't like to divulge our health care, what we're going through. We keep it to ourselves. And it's not that you want to advertise what's going on with you, but you do want to share it with your family so that their health care can be better.
There are a couple of things that you're saying that matter to us as African Americans. And just before I bring Kevin in to share with us some of his research, I find it interesting that the same pattern, assuming that there is no biological differences based upon race, that the good science that you have suggested in terms of the basic screening processes, the basic PSA tests for prostate cancer, the diagnosis and the prognosis of the process is consistent across men, regardless of their race, sex, or class, but more specifically African American men, because of the absence of primary care physicians, because of health disparities, because of the absence of insurance and some cultural issues associated with it. We have been traditionally resistant to get the care, and as a result, we end up with higher numbers of prostate cancer. Is that a brief summary of what I just heard you say, Dr. Holmes?
You could say that, yes. It's those barriers that prohibit us from being diagnosed. I mean, we have a lot of cultural issues. We don't have a lot of trust within the medical community based on past experiences. I'll take bad blood, for example, the Tuskegee trials. So we don't have that camaraderie with the medical community, and that does put us at fault. Sometimes wives or girlfriends or partners have to fuss to get those men into their physicians to get those tests done, to help them have a better outcome, because lots of disease can be found, but you want to find it at its earliest state so that you can have the better outcome. Having a lower disease volume will help you have a better outcome overall.
Kevin, share with us your research, how you decided to focus specifically on finding cures for cancer. Kevin Ma.
Yeah, well, my research isn't specifically dealing with prostate cancer because I work on breast cancer. But cancer in itself is the same, across the board, in that you have cells that are abnormally proliferating, which cause disease. And so in the research that we do, of course, in breast cancer, just like Dr. Holmes was saying, is that you still want to try to get a cancer early in the stage of its development and its proliferation. But in research, we also find too that you can have cancer, and cancer can be associated with other diseases or actually manifest other diseases such as dementia and those types of things, which is interesting because of your intro with the what's out there with the president, President Biden, the fact that could some cancers be related to dementia and Alzheimer's and these other things, and that's what we're doing in research to try to find out too.
Kevin, I find it fairly fascinating, and I want to kind of integrate some of Dr. Holmes's thinking. I had an aunt. This is my mother's youngest sister. Her name was Cynthia Dancy. Aunt Cynthia had breast cancer. She found her lumps fairly early. Aunt Cynthia was a high school teacher in Kankakee, Illinois. But Aunt Cynthia, Dr. Holmes, Brother Mott, was determined not to lose her breast. She decided to keep her breast with the breast cancer, with the lumps, And unfortunately and tragically, her life ended prematurely, we believe, because we were in a position to provide her the necessary care. When I say cultural differences, some of it is vanity. Some of it is, I've always had my breasts. I've always had my prostate. I don't want to lose my prostate. I don't want to lose my breasts. I hasten not to use the term, it's just sheer ignorance, to be diagnosed with a problem and then not seek care, or at least not talk about it with family members, with doctors, with others, clinics, people who are willing to hear and help you overcome some of the fears necessary for the kind of treatment necessary to prolong your life. Kevin, let me let you respond to that cultural shock issue first, and then let Dr. Holmes follow up on that question.
Yeah, I would agree with you with the cultural shock and how we as Black people actually deal with things. The thing I will say about cancer is that cancer is heterogeneous, which means that all cancers are different. So when you look at the situation of her cancer diagnosis, you also have to look at what type of cancer she had, because I actually work on specifically our research in the lab at UNC Chapel Hill is on triple negative breast cancer. And triple negative breast cancer is more predominant in African American women. It is the most aggressive cancer that's there. And so at the end of the day, the treatment alternative for triple negative breast cancer, currently there are no treatments. So aside from surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy, you're really stuck. In other forms of breast cancer, estrogen receptor cancer, that actually have a receptor, there's certain drugs like tamoxifen and things like that that can reduce the size of the tumor and stop the proliferation. So that's another concern that we have. Well, I would say that Black women have too, is that many Black women are diagnosed with the most aggressive breast cancer that there is.
Dr. Holmes, many of us who have experienced this culturally and medically invasive process of the annual prostate exam, let me allow you to follow up on that question that I raised, because Black men, when they heard, for example, that the former president of the United States had an aggressive form of prostate cancer, it's something that we are reminded of on a regular basis as to why we need the exams ourselves.
Yes, it goes back to screening. It goes back to education. I'm going to take a step back to your aunt. Like Mr. Mott alluded to, there are various forms of breast cancer. There's a pre-malignant form, which is a stage 0, and then there's stages 1 through 4. And you can treat them in various ways. But one of the things in our community is that you go to the doctor and they don't talk about the breast conserving treatment if you're a candidate for it. And there are plenty of cases where you can do breast conserving surgery, where you can save the breast and remove the mass, and then you follow up with radiation therapy. There are instances where you can go and you can have surgery, and based on the age and the grade and the size and the receptor status of that cancer, you may be able to omit radiation therapy. So there's myths because patients are afraid of radiation. They're afraid to lose their breasts. So they kind of become frozen and they don't want to do anything. But as Mr. Mott said, breast cancer falls in so many different microcosms or different various categories. And when the patient comes to us, we have to tease out all of those to basically make a designer treatment for them, so that they can get the most appropriate treatment for their disease process proper. But you have to help the patient know that they have to come in and talk to the health professional. It's not that you're forcing them to, but it's an encouragement so that they can get the most proper care, so their demise doesn't have to be so devastating. And that goes to men with prostate cancer, especially within the Black community. I walk into the room, first of all, they're happy to see me, but they're surprised to see me. They didn't know what Dr. Holmes was going to look like in a lot of instances, and they weren't expecting this facade right here. But when they do see me, you can see them relax. And so I talk to them and I educate them and I show them their anatomy and pictures, and I show them and I explain to them in detail what we're going to do for them. And that takes away the mystery of what the disease is. It takes away the mystery of the exam. It takes away the mystery of the process of getting treatment. And patients aren't aware of the various types of treatment that are available to them. There's surgery, there's radiation, there's different types of radiation, there's different ways to deliver radiation therapy. All they know is that they're going to glow in the dark, and they're, nope, they can't be around anybody, or they're going to get a really bad skin reaction from it because they heard about somebody else that got a bad skin reaction. And so you have to give the patient a chance to educate them and try to dispel some of those myths and gain their confidence so that they can get treatment. And then when they do come in and they do accept the treatment, then they realize, hey, it's not as bad as I thought. Or, yeah, I can be around my grandchildren, or I can be around my daughter-in-law who's pregnant, and I'm not going to glow in the dark, and I can be around people. So that helps take away some of the myth. And then what they do once they learn how easy it can be in certain instances, they go back and they tell their buddies or their friends and their family members, and they go, really? And then that just keeps perpetuating. But you have to build that relationship with your healthcare provider.
Dr. Holmes, we have about 2 minutes before the break. I do have a question for you. What is a Gleason score?
So when the urologist takes a piece of the tissue from the prostate gland, they put a probe into the rectum, and they look at it through an ultrasound, and they take various biopsies of the prostate. They send that off to the pathologist. The first score of the Gleason score is the major pattern. That pattern is scored from 1 to 5. And so then they look at the minor pattern. That pattern is scored from 1 to 5. So you have a major number and a minor number. You add those two together, and that is the Gleason score. And that can break you up into various categories of the different types of prostate cancers and the risk categories.
To have a
along
Gleason
with the PSA.
To have a Gleason score and to be able to determine it is a fairly invasive procedure. Is it any chance that you can have a Gleason score of 9 and not have knowledge prior to the fact that you have prostate cancer?
I would say that's, you have to get the biopsy in order to know that you have a Gleason score of 9. I've had patients that have had a very high PSA and they did not have a Gleason score of 9.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with our listeners. When we come forward, I have a bunch of questions for Mr. Mott with respect to his research. I can't thank Dr. Holmes enough for providing us with some insights into our own health, but also into the health of those men across our country beyond their race who are struggling with prostate cancer. When we come forward with our very special guest, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Former Black Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms is running for Georgia governor. She pledges to expand Medicaid and aims to become the state's first Democratic governor in over 20 years.
We're always talking about beating LSU and Alabama in football, but we're letting Louisiana and Alabama best us in Medicaid expansion.
Bottoms previously served in the Biden-Harris administration and led Atlanta from 2018 to 2022. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is signing an order to boost film and TV production by cutting costs and streamlining permits, and also expands access to iconic spots like Griffith Observatory. And the EPA is ending its emergency order on Flint, Michigan's water nearly a decade after the lead crisis began. Flint, a historically Black city, faced contaminated water after switching to the Flint River in 2014. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Angels are still playing well. After sweeping the Dodgers over the weekend, they started a 7-game road trip Monday night with a 4-3 win at Oakland. 4 straight win for the Angels and their manager, Ron Washington. The Dodgers have lost 4 straight. They lost 9-5 at home Monday night to Arizona. The Dodgers were down 7-0 after 3 innings. The Western Conference Finals tip off tonight in the NBA playoffs. Minnesota at Oklahoma City in Game 1 of the best of 7. 2 years ago, Minnesota and OKC played each other in the play-in tournament. Both teams are now 1 step away from playing for the NBA championship. 5:30 tip-off tonight on ESPN. Detroit Lions general manager Brad Holmes gave the commencement speech Saturday at the graduation ceremonies for HBCU North Carolina A&T. Holmes was a defensive back at A&T and graduated from the school in 1999. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again. Hello.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Hit the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
Love you. Love you.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guests today are Dr. Leslie Holmes, who is a radiation oncologist at SGMC Perelman Cancer Center in Valdosta, Georgia, and Kevin Armad, a researcher who's worked at both Cedars-Sinai and is currently at UNC Chapel Hill. I want to give a little bit of history before I ask Kevin this question. Kevin, I served on the Labor, Health, and Human Services Committee of the Appropriations Committee of the United States Congress. I succeeded a gentleman from Ohio named Lou Stokes. He was the only other African American on the committee when he was in Congress. As a result of my work on the committee with Louis Sullivan and Dr. Maupin over at Morehouse School of Medicine at the time, the lack of coordination on the issue of health disparities at the National Institutes of Health and at the CDC led us to fight to elevate the Office of Research on Minority Health at NIH to a national center. Bill Clinton signed that legislation. When I returned in the following Congress, we found out that the institutes were not talking with the new center that we established, so we fought to elevate the National Center on Domestic Health Disparities to a grant-making institution as well. Why? Because of what Dr. Holmes has said and what you have acknowledged, that African Americans tend to go to people who look like them, who make them feel comfortable for these various screenings, tests, study groups, and make determinations about their own health. I raised these questions because the present environment, I'm super sensitive. I've had many medical physicians on this program in the past that they're listening, right? So I'm not being specific or trying to draw the ire of the government here. I'm asking a specific question, and that is your research and research around the country in this environment is facing some particular and difficult challenges. The absence of funding, the withdrawal of funding, not recognizing that the science that you're actually engaging in is good science. Can you share with our listeners what some of those challenges are and what some of the consequences are if, in fact, this research does not take place on the question of health disparities?
Yeah, I think that's a good question because I think right now research, it is going to be challenging moving forward with research in general. And what we're seeing now, even in the first, quarters of this year, we're seeing a drop in somewhere in the neighborhood of 35% in the amount of grants that were awarded this same time last year. And that can be devastating to a university, to an institution, because that money is needed in order to do quality research. And there is quality research being done. And if you take that away, you can lose years and years of time if that's interrupted.
I've even heard that some of the institutions are complaining that there's only a longevity of certain samples that they have, that in fact, without the funding research, they can't preserve the samples that literally have taken decades to develop.
Yes, I definitely understand that too, because, even in our research, I have, I probably have some 50 or 60 different cancer tumor models that I use for study. And typically in the research that I do, I transplant these tumors into animal models. I treat the animal models with investigative drugs, all the things they're changing day to day, week to week, month to month. And if you lose that, especially if you lose those models, you're going to take a back step in your research, which could cost you for, at least I know I've been doing cancer research now for, going on 10 years. And to lose something like that could be devastating.
I find it, Dr. Holmes, somewhat fascinating that even as we spend more money, unusually in this particular political environment, as we have in the immediate past, from 2001 to the present, addressing issues of health disparities, that some of the cures and processes by which we provide medical care to our own community as we address these health disparities, they are also benefits to the broader community and to other groups, because African Americans end up being, well, not quite, I'm not suggesting any kind of Tuskegee experiment, but because of health disparities in our community, we end up being models for what the processes and care should be going forward for the broader population. Is that your thinking, Dr. Holmes?
Well, most of the research is done not in our community. When you present a possible, that's the only way medicine advances. That's the most way, or the majority of the ways that medicine advances. They advance with clinical research and clinical trials. When you present a clinical trial to our population, the first thing they say, you're not doing an experiment on me. And that's deeply embedded in us because that's happened to us in the past. So the majority of the prostate cancer treatment has been not done with African Americans in mind, because they don't want to enroll on those clinical trials to have the advancement of the treatment. So because there's not many African Americans that enroll on those trials, how do we know that the commonplace medicine that we are delivering is that best for us? We don't know, because we don't have a large majority of African Americans that are enrolled on the prostate cancer trials. But that's how we develop the standard of care. So all we can do is use the information that we have in order to offer the standard of care to the patient. Is it the best? We don't know, because there's not a study out there that specifically targets for African American men regarding cancer care treatment for a lot of things.
Kevin, I've got to ask you this question because I know that you and the producer had a preliminary conversation about it before we did the show. We've got about 2 minutes before the break, and so I'd like you to opine on this. What I know of having served in Congress for more than 17 years is that the President of the United States, of all people on earth, has 24-hour care and some of the best health care on earth. Is there any chance that over the course of his presidency, or President Reagan's presidency, or Jimmy Carter's presidency, that they did not conduct the necessary screenings and processes to determine the President of the United States and his viability to serve in that capacity?
Well, I would have to go back to what Dr. Holmes had said earlier about the fact that it's really hard to say, because you had to do the biopsy to get the Gleason score to say that someone had an advanced prostate disease. And you can't really go back and speculate when and how someone knew and what time they knew. As if to say, during a certain time period, did it take this long to find out, or did somebody know in advance? And what I will say is that, because I don't study prostate cancer, I will agree that prostate cancer is a slow developing process. And cancer in itself is just, it happens, and you see this slow process. But a perspective that I wanted to give, and I think I had talked to your producer about, is there's a syndrome called paraneoplastic neurological syndrome. And I don't know if Dr. Holmes is familiar with that, but it's a syndrome in which the immune system, while targeting cancer cells, it mistakenly attacks your normal tissue in the brain and the spinal cord and in the nerves. And so what happens is that this condition leads to neurological symptoms, which are non-Alzheimer's type of neurological symptoms, but they're symptoms of memory loss, movement disorder, sensory changes, and things of that nature. And when I look at research, of course, we look at mechanistic. And so there's a group out of the University of Utah who published in Cell in 2024. And what they did is they studied the protein that's associated with that syndrome. And it's a protein called PNMA2. And what they found is that normal cells in the brain express this protein, and there's no damaging effect in the brain. They don't know the function of the protein, but it's highly expressed, abundantly expressed in the hippocampus. And of course, the hippocampus is the area that's associated with memory, short-term, long-term memory, and that type of thing. But what's more interesting is that that protein is also expressed in cancer outside of the brain. And when that cancer is expressed outside of the brain, they found that it has a structure that's similar to a caspid of a virus. And if you understand virology, you will know that the body, once it sees a viral protein, it mounts an immune response. And it tries to attack that virus and kill that virus. So it does the same thing in cancer outside the brain. If the cancer cells are making that protein, it mounts an immune response. But what happens is that immune response can kickstart an autoimmune response, which then makes your immune system target the cells in the brain that are also expressing that.
Wow.
And the take-home message from that is that in the event, and I'm not saying this happened with the president's prostate, but what I'm saying in his cancer, but what I'm saying is that you can have a cancer outside of the brain that causes an autoimmune response, which causes an attack on the neurological process. And if you don't know you have the cancer, you can exhibit the neurological issues first without even knowing you had the cancer.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest, Dr. Holmes, Mr. Mott, will be with us for a final word when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
The revolution will not be televised.
What's up? It is Killer Mike, also known as Michael Render, and I'm encouraging you to listen to more, not less, of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Senator Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least liked to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfiresupport@QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
After nearly 20 years in Congress, he knows how to get at the issues that matter the most to you. Every day, he takes a deep dive into politics, social justice, and the stories that shape our community. This is where prominent people unpack perplexing problems. Unfiltered, unapologetic, unmissable. You're inside the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
New Always Pocket Flex Foam will change the way you think about pads. Get full-size protection in a surprisingly tiny pack that fits right in your purse or pocket. Perfect for life on the go. With up to 0 leaks, 0 feel, and 0 bunching, you'll forget you're even wearing a pad. And Always Pocket Flex Foam is designed to adapt to your body, so you can move freely and confidently throughout your day. Experience the future of period protection with new Always Pocket Flex Foam. Pick up your pack today.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the final segment of our show. Our very special guests have been Kevin Mott. Kevin is a researcher who has worked both at Cedars-Sinai, currently at UNC Chapel Hill, where he investigates and oversees animal testing. His focus is on comprehensive cancer and quest to find cures. Kevin studied chemical engineering at Purdue University, civil and environmental engineering at Loyola Marymount, and molecular biology at California State University. I can say this, if I went to school with Kevin, we never would have met because he would have been on the other side of campus while I was studying politics or studying government or theology or something that I can wrap my mind around. But Kevin, you've got to be one of the brightest people we've ever had on our show. And also, Dr. Leslie Holmes is a radiation oncologist at SGMC Perelman Cancer Center in Valdosta, Georgia. She specializes in treating various forms of cancer, including breast, lung, prostate, and rectal. She received her medical degree from Morehouse School of Medicine in Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Holmes's residency training includes internal medicine at Mount Sinai Medical Center and radiation oncology at Emory University School of Medicine. And there's just no need in me even suggesting that if I went to any of those institutions, I would have ever had the privilege of meeting Dr. Holmes. I wouldn't have seen her in the library. I wouldn't have seen her anywhere. She would have been on the other side of the world, and so would Kevin. And so it would have been like, hey, we all went to school at the same time, but where were y'all? We were somewhere reading a book, undoubtedly, while I was pledging or something. Anyway, we only have a few minutes left in our program. I'm so grateful that you spent this time with us. Kevin, I want to allow you to finish that thought because I think it's very, very important. And then I want to hear Dr. Holmes's opining on any of the current issues in any way that she deems fit. And then I'm going to, with the last few minutes, allow both of you to close on a brief word of hope. Kevin?
Yeah, I had kind of finished what I was indicating, but I think what I was actually saying in what I had talked about right before the break is the fact that that's how important actually understanding cancer is and getting early treatment and those things, because sometimes you can have a cancer that's brewing, and it's just our immune system is designed to stop cancer, in general. And we probably have times where we have abnormal cells that our immune systems take care of. But as we age, our immune system changes, and you might have persistent cancer that you're unaware of, And I wanted to say something personal, because I know how you talked about your aunt, and I had my grandfather who was diagnosed with prostate cancer at 80 years old. And at the time, the thought was that, is it even worth trying to do any kind of surgery or anything? So they'll do the watchful waiting. And he actually lived to be 100 years old, and he was about a month shy from 101, and the cancer still didn't kill him,
Oh, wow. He was diagnosed in his 80s and lived to be 100?
He was almost 101, and that's why it's interesting. You know, the comment about did President Biden know about his prostate cancer well ahead of time? And I'm even though I'm not a medical doctor and I'm not an expert on prostate cancer, I do know that you can live years undiagnosed because prostate cancer is actually not most likely, but a lot of times it's asymptomatic. So you don't have symptoms. And then if you do have symptoms, there's symptoms that can be related to something else. And at least in President Biden's case, I actually had research to see that he had actually been diagnosed with benign prostate hyperplasia, enlarged prostate a long time ago. And it was benign. So though it gives the same symptoms as well as PSA readings and things like that you would see in a patient with prostate cancer.
Dr. Holmes, we have about 2.5 minutes before the close of our show. Let me allow you the opportunity to opine and share with our community a word of hope.
Mr. Mott alluded to the fact that prostate cancer does grow slow. That in particular is the garden variety adenocarcinoma of the prostate. The prostate is a gland, and when you have a cancer of a gland, it's called adenocarcinoma. I keep seeing these words, rare and aggressive. And so the only way that we will know what those words mean exactly is if we had the actual pathology report in front of us and the actual lab result of that, the PSA and the actual diagnostic studies that were done, the radiographic studies, in order for us to know that there are rare prostate cancers and they're of different type and they're more of a neuroendocrine type and they can be aggressive. But what does aggressive really mean in this instance? We won't know because we're not privy to those actual documents to give a hardcore answer to that. Does he have, they mentioned something about metastatic disease. Well, does he have metastatic disease in one site? Or does he have it all over the body? Or does he require chemotherapy? Does he require immunotherapy? Does he require androgen deprivation therapy? I mean, those are things that we don't know. We don't know if he was under watchful waiting or what have you. There are a lot of patients that are under watchful waiting, but I've also seen that patients that are under active surveillance or watchful waiting, that's the key word, active surveillance. You have to be proactive. You have to go to your doctor's appointments. You have to get the PSA when they ask you to. You have to get the biopsies when you do, because some patients are under that active surveillance when you have to do a series of tests and series of biopsies. And what they don't do is they miss that appointment. They don't go for it. And that active surveillance turns into a more progressive disease. And it also depends on the performance status of the patient. It depends on the age of the patient. It depends if they were in a nursing home and they were debilitated, or were they an active 85-year-old patient that was still driving and talking and traveling and what have you. Those are things that take into account when we are diagnosing a patient with prostate cancer and offering them treatment. The best thing that I can say is that you have to have a conversation with your healthcare provider. You should do those active screening tests that are available to you. We don't have many available. Take advantage of them. And then more important, develop that relationship with your healthcare provider so that you can have that conversation with them and have that intelligent conversation and ask questions of your healthcare provider. Command so that you get those answers that you need.
Santa Monica.
And if
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Former Black Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms is running for Georgia governor. She pledges to expand Medicaid and aims to become the state's first Democratic governor in over 20 years.
We're always talking about beating LSU and Alabama. And
Kevin,
football,
thank you for being with us, Dr. Holmes.
Sorry, I was long-winded. I was trying.